Hello, you beautiful people. It's Showtime, the start of a brand new theatre-filled podcast where we discuss all things theatre with a variety of guests and topics of discussions. So it's time to grab a brew, get settled down, and let's begin. It's Showtime. Good afternoon, my name is Chris Hanlon and welcome to It's Showtime, a brand spanking new theatre podcast which looks to delve deep into the theatrical network as we discuss the ins and outs of theatre with performers, technicians, directors and creators from the world of professional and amateur theatre. I'm delighted to welcome our very first guest to It's Showtime. Our guest has a theatrical history that spans 40 plus years. He performed at the reopening of the Lyceum Theatre Sheffield in 1990, the opening ceremony of the Student Games at the now demolished Don Valley Stadium, and has played many lead parts throughout the years. Our guest is a director and producer and runs his own company along with his partner Linda, which specialises in theatrical props, original pantomime scripts and the hiring of audio-visual equipment. As well as that, he's also a full-time TA at a school in Sheffield. Please welcome Mr. Richard Bradford. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you, Christopher. What an entrance.
Welcome. So how are you?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you doing with the lockdown and everything?
I think like most people that are creative and do theatre, we're struggling a little bit because, we're missing doing what we love. But, we're getting on with lots of things and it's giving us an opportunity to do things around the house that we wouldn't ordinarily have a chance to do.
Absolutely. So, for our listeners, tell me a bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm a very well-worn 52-year-old male, Caucasian, from sunny Sheffield. I was born and bred in Sheffield. I'll probably die in Sheffield, like I'm probably dying right now. I've been on stage with numerous theatre companies throughout my years, but predominantly it's been with a company called Manor Operatic Society, which I now run alongside my partner in crime and partner in real life, Linda, which we've been a part of that for about I've been 33, 34 years. Linda's been a few more years than I.
So, just to quickly, I asked you to fill out a pre-recording questionnaire. So it says your happy place is at your static caravan at the sea. So how long have you had your static caravan?
Well, we've had a static caravan for about 5 years. You don't usually call it a static caravan. I usually call it my 3-bedroom detached second home in a gated community 100 yards from the sea. But if pushed, it is a static caravan, Chris, yeah.
Having had the pleasure to stay there a couple of times, I can say it's very, very, very nice and relaxing. And it's just by the sea, isn't it? So you haven't got far to walk at all.
Absolutely not. It's about 100 yards from the beach, which is lovely.
Okay, let's get on to the reason why we're here. So let's discuss a bit about theatre. So as you alluded to in your little intro there, you are a director-producer for Manor Operatic Society in Sheffield. So Manor Operatic perform at the Sheffield City Hall and have been doing since the 1980s.
Yeah. Oh, is it 81, 82?
87, I think.
Is it? Was it really? I don't
think
know.
So. Anyway, before that, they performed at the Montgomery Theatre.
Yeah.
And outsold the Montgomery. They were doing 3-4 week runs and it got to the point where they needed to expand. So the City Hall came calling.
Yeah, well, yeah, they got to a point at the Montgomery. I wasn't a part of it at the Montgomery. That's way before my time. But they were doing it for 4-5 weeks, apparently, at the Monte, and it was just getting too much. So the natural progression was to move to City Hall. And it got so that we were doing 3 weeks at the City Hall and 3 shows on a Saturday, 3 shows on a Sunday. It was getting at points that we were doing sort of 23, 24 shows in a run, which was pretty demanding and working as well.
So you said you've been directing, producing for about 12, 13 years now. How long before that were you performing?
I started in a dance school years and years and years ago. But then I took my first speaking role when I was 7. I'm 52 now, so
So,
quite a long time ago.
so quite a
And,
quite a long time, yeah.
yeah, and then I've just kept with the theatre. My parents did it, my sisters did it, my brother did it. We've all done it. Obviously, Linda, now my partner, she's done it since being a little girl. So it's just been something that I've done all my life.
So it's ingrained in you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Richard, I hope you don't mind me saying, but you've got two daughters. One is doing very well for herself in her own sort of line of work, but your younger daughter is also a performer.
She is, yeah. Emily, my oldest, that's pursuing a different career. She was really talented at dancing, but it wasn't something she really wanted to pursue, and do on a social level or a professional level. So she packed it in at a very young age, which we were a little bit disappointed about because she had a natural flair for it. But you let your kids do as they feel fit. My other one, she's sort of was born into it and has flourished and been in shows with us and took the part of Jemima in Bang Bang, which we were very proud of.
A very, very proud moment for you. So, as a fellow member of Manor Operatic, I remember the days of Evie being sat under the table in Annie rehearsals. That was 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
So, right from an early age, she was surrounded by that sort of performance environment.
Yeah.
And she used to stand at the front and she used to know all the moves better than everybody else. So you always knew she was sort of going to go on stage. And she's an incredible dancer and is getting better. You must be incredibly proud of both your children.
Yeah, very, very proud of them both.
So it's time to play our first game of the day. So this game is called Name That Show. Name That Show. So just to tell you how this is going to work, I will give you 60 seconds to name as many shows as you can. However, there is a different sort of element to this. So we're going to name shows based on the letters of your name. So we will start with the letter R and we will end in the letter D. Okay?
Right.
But that's your whole name. Okay, here we go. So R.
Rent. Rant.
I.
Irene.
C.
Cats.
H.
Hairspray.
A.
Avenue Q.
R.
Rags.
D.
D. Pass.
B.
Brigadoon.
R.
Rosemary.
A.
Annie.
D.
D. Yeah, D is just like
F.
Fiddler on the Roof.
O.
Oliver.
R.
Rocky Horror Show.
And D.
D is the bugger for me. D.
Okay, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points. 10 points, Richard.
That is rubbish.
You are the top of the leaderboard.
Oh, da-da! Can you name any D shows? Tell me, D.
And the only one I could think about that was going around in my head was Dagenham, but it's made in Dagenham.
Yeah, D. There must be so many.
Dracula the music.
Dracula, blinking heck. Dracula, Dr. Dolittle, Dear Evan Hansen. I can think of the brothers now. Come on, mate. Let's have a reading. D. Dr. Dolittle. D. Dear Evans Henson.
In that show. Okay, let's move on from that segment. So, this is your favourite show and why. So, we're going to have a little discussion about theatre, why it's so special to you, and I want you to talk about your favourite show. So, Richard, why is theatre so special to you?
Theatre's so special to me because it's a pastime like no other, really, because you can take an audience and a cast and you all go on a journey together and you can pick so many emotions within that, and you can take people out of sometimes some very difficult situations and put them into a place of tranquility where they feel comfortable for a couple of hours. and you're sort of leaving little footprints on many little people's hearts that they think, oh, there, that was really good, and hopefully it will give them the encouragement to either want to come back for more, or even better still, join a company themselves.
So we've touched on it a few times, your role as director producer at Manor Operatic Society in Sheffield. So how does that come about? So how do you become a director producer, and what does the job entail?
For me, the job came about purely by chance. I wouldn't say I wasn't looking for it. It was always an ambition of mine to direct and produce a show. But we'd had a long-standing director at Manor, which is one of the my idols in theatre, Brian Platts, who sadly is no longer with us, and he produced and directed the company for years, and he sadly had a stroke and couldn't do any more. And there was an interim period where his daughter-in-law took over, and then with a little bit of notice, it fell upon, and a few changes in circumstances, it fell upon. They asked me if I'd just take over and onto a show, and having no directing experience, no production experience, and with a few months to do a pantomime, we just went, yep, and we just sort of like fell into it, really. So that's how we came to do it. Luckily, I've got a very creative and very supportive partner, Linda, who I just couldn't do without. She's the organised one in terms of like what she's doing with the company. She's a great choreographer and director in her own right, obviously. But I would say I'm more the creative sort of thinking what's going to happen, how a show's going to come to look, and what I think's important, what I need to get, what I need to book, how I need to get it. Particularly with pantomimes, where it's sort of a blank canvas, and we are renowned for our pantomimes. They are so big, they are so spectacular, and we do have to keep pushing the bar. But we've tried to transmit that through to our shows and lift, the creativity level. Because amateurs around the country, not just Sheffield, of which we've got a rich, scene of theatrical companies, but we tried to lift the bar in terms of the technical aspect of things, and I think that's one of my main strengths.
When you're choosing a show, sort of what aspects do you look at? It's not just for anybody that doesn't know how it works. It's not just a case of going, right, we want to do that show, we'll take that. What's the sort of process? Where do you start?
Well, you see, for some companies that is the process, because they don't the society ethos, unfortunately, in many ways has gone, and they tend to just pick a show, and then they will encourage people to come and audition to be in the company for that show. At Manor, it's different because we do pantomimes, and we've got a company, we've got a society, and that society has an average of about 50 playing members, and then we've got obviously non-playing members, people who work behind the scenes in various departments. But when I'm picking a show, I have to try and, I consider greatly the people within our society and how we can accommodate those people within the show. So that is the primary, concern when I'm looking at shows. Can we do it? Can we do it as a society? But can we do it well as a society?
Okay. So just to sort of expand on that, for listeners or potential listeners that don't know, Sheffield City Hall is a 2,000 plus seater venue. It's a very large one, and Manor Operatic Society produced what is largely considered as the largest amateur pantomime within the country. When you hear people say that, how does it make you feel?
I mean, obviously, you're bursting with pride. I mean, Manor is something it's not just something I do, it's something I live. As with other people within the society, it's not just me. We've got some fantastic members that absolutely live and breathe the society, and the success of the society is something that we all share, not just myself and Linda. It's something that we all share as a group. So yeah, it's with enormous pride that it's something that's been built, on a lot of hard work over a lot of years, and not just by myself. Obviously, I mentioned Brian before. We sadly last year lost our chairman Richard, who was an absolute stalwart within the theatrical community, but within Manor itself. Mabel, Erwin, all the people involved in Manor over the years have helped to make it what it is.
And it keeps going from strength to strength. It really does.
Yeah, it keeps going from strength to strength.
Like you said, though, it's important that you've got a strong core of people around you that are willing to help sort of push the society forward. So we've talked about pride. Would you say, as a director or as a performer, which one do you feel more proud?
Wow. I've always had a massive love for the theatre and what it stands for and what it does. I've been lucky to do some wonderful things that you've said at the beginning, play some great parts, had some wonderful opportunities. But I suppose for me personally, as a director, you and a producer, I now live every single part, including all the choral or company parts on that stage. So it's in effect like you're living and performing every part within the show. And it's, I suppose, from a pride point of view, I'm probably proud of the achievements of you guys, or us as a collective, because it's more about the collective than it is about, as a performer, it's pretty much like yourself, isn't it?
There'd be absolutely no shame in saying you are an emotive person. You're affectionate and passionate. Passionate is is probably the operative word there. So, as a performer, having witnessed it firsthand, you are very often seen at the back of the City Hall, crying your eyes out, watching, and it's because, as you say, you live and breathe the performance, and it's why it makes you such a strong director and producer, because you've got that experience as a performer, which you've learned from, but you want to carry forward and sort of create a new legacy and sort of push theatre and push the boundaries a bit further. Just wanted to touch briefly on amateur theatre as a whole. So within the professional world, sadly, amateur theatre carries a bit of a stigma. It's still carried forward today. What would you say to people that say, well, amateur theatre is bog standard church hall sort of stuff? Because I strongly feel that it's not.
I would answer that on various levels. I would still celebrate the fact that it is church hall level. Yeah. But I wouldn't pigeonhole in any way amateur theatre as being church hall productions. What people have got to understand is that theatre is a very immersive and inclusive pastime for people, and not everybody can go out and be a professional. Some are on the fringe of it. Some professionals just don't get that break and they have to give up because of financial reasons, and then they have to come back because they've still got a love and a passion for it, and then they do shows like ours. But your grassroots church or pantomimes is where stars are born. That's the core of where it starts. And I would always say, I always go and try and see as many things like that as I possibly can, as much to support them, but get ideas, because you'll find that even in small productions, they have to be very, because they've not got the budget and stuff, they have to be so creative with how to do things, that you can take those ideas and elevate them to a point that we can use on our stage. So I would say to anybody that's even considering going and seeing a show, I've seen many shows, many professional and amateur of all different levels. Mm-hmm. And I've seen some fantastic and been a part of some absolutely jaw-dropping shows that are deemed as amateur but are knockout and will rival any professional production.
Brilliant. Well answered. Okay, it's time to move on. It's the quick-fire quiz round. Okay, Richard, this is how it's going to work. There are 30 questions to answer in total. You have 60 seconds to answer as many questions as you can. So, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Which long-running West End musical was written by South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone?
Book of Mormon.
Yeah. Jean Valjean, Fantine and Javert are characters from which musical?
Les Miserables.
In which musical does overweight teenager Tracy Turnblad break the mold when she auditions to dance
Hairspray.
Hairspray? Which is the longest running musical on Broadway?
Phantom.
Correct. Which musical tells the story of one of America's founding fathers?
Hamilton.
Yep. What is the name of the musical based on Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Spamalot.
What is the longest running musical on the West End?
Phantom again.
It's Les Mis. What musical features the song Memory?
Cats.
How many Oscars has Andrew Lloyd Webber won?
Oh gosh, he should have won millions. 3. 7.
One. In Mamma Mia, how many dads does lead character?
3.
Yeah, and can you name them?
Bill. Ted.
Bill, Sam, and Harry.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we're going to say. You didn't give me a chance to finish.
For which animated musical film did Sir Elton John win an Academy Award for Best
Lion
Original
King.
Song? Say it again. Yeah. What musical is based on the book by Gregory Maguire?
Don't know.
Wicked. What classical musical features a girl named Kim who falls in love with a soldier?
Oh, it's Miss Saigon. I had a mental block then.
What year did the Phantom of the Opera first entertain musical fans?
Oh my good Chris. 1989.
It was 1986. Which character was played by Renée Zellweger in the film adaptation of Chicago?
But Roxy Hart.
And your time's up. How many questions do you think you got right?
How many questions did I do, Chris?
You answered 16 questions.
14?
You got 11.
Really?
Yeah. So the ones you got wrong were longest running musical in the West End.
Yeah.
How many Oscars Andrew Lloyd Webber had? How many dads there was, and can you name them? So you got the amount of dads right, but you got the names wrong. So you only got 1 point for that. The musical based on the Gregory Maguire book, what do you think it was?
You told me it was Wicked.
Yeah, that's it. And what year did Phantom of the Opera open? That was 1986.
It was. That would have been my second answer.
It's the quick-fire quiz round! Yeah. Brilliant. Right, okay. So we're just going to go back to your pre-podcast questionnaire. So one of the questions on there was, if in 150 years science fails to save us and all that is left is a book about your life, what would the title be and what would be the blurb that tells us about the book? So you put Steel City Entertainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to just expand on that a little bit?
Well, I had to do. I thought of that title in a second because I'm very proud of Sheffield, and obviously it's the city of my birth. It's the city that I love. It's the city where I live. So hence Steel City and the entertainer. Because I'm not painting myself as the best entertainer, but I've always liked the fact that I entertain people. You know, in whatever capacity, whether it be behind the scenes or on stage. So yeah.
And then the blurb: the man who loves all aspects of theatre, who through his productions wanted to leave a little tiny footprints and memories on millions of people's hearts. I think if there's one thing that you've done, it is that through your time as performer and director, along with your wonderful partner and my good friend Linda, you leave lots of tiny little footprints. The magic of pantomime cannot ever be replaced for me. I think the buzz of being on that stage and seeing them kids dancing up and down the aisles, and when they come on the bucket game and their faces just light up, I think it's incredible. So I really like your answer to that. So I wanted to draw on that. So one of the other questions was, what's a crazy but true fact about you? And obviously you couldn't think at the time because you put my real name is Shirley.
It was Shirley.
Surely not. But no, if there was a crazy but true fact about you, what would you say it was?
Oh gosh. Well, when I was 16, 17-ish, I performed in Swan Lake at the Sheffield City Hall again with the Northern Ballet, and it starred Rudolph Nureyev. So I suppose that's my claim to fame. Crazy fact, call it what you will.
Amazing. So you danced on stage with Nureyev in Swan Lake.
I
Brilliant.
appeared. I didn't necessarily dance, Christopher. I
Okay,
appeared on
you
stage.
appeared
He
on
danced
stage. Sorry,
when he turned
don't want to put words in your mouth.
up.
So name something or someone who inspires you in life.
Well, I suppose thinking about it, I've got many reasons, many things, but I love it when you're watching these programs about people that have done something to help a friend, help a charity, help an organisation, help something. And I suppose I'm one of them people who sits back and go, "Oh, do you know what? I should do that," and I never do. And that's shame on me, really, because I always think I doff me hat to those people because they get up off the backsides and they make it happen.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with that. Would you describe yourself as an extrovert or an introvert?
I would say that in reality, I'm an introvert that acts as an extrovert. And I think most extroverts are like that. They become extrovert to hide their inner, anxiety, if you like. I mean, sometimes, I've done many things on stage, as you said at the beginning, big things on stage, at the City Hall and Lyceum and the arena and stuff. But sometimes if I were walking on that stage and somebody said to me, you don't have to go on, I'd go, okay. And I'd walk off because I'm that nervous before I walk off. But then when I walk on, it's like, boom, something clicks and I'm in gear and my mindset is just about what's going on in the production.
Brilliant. Okay, so it's time to play the next quick fire quiz round. It's decision time. Okay, so in this round there are 15 questions to answer. You have to answer A or B. No thinking, no hesitation. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
Okay. Chocolate or cheese?
Chocolate.
Cheesecake or Victoria sponge?
Victoria sponge.
Ice cream or custard?
Custard.
Custard cream or bourbon?
Bourbon.
Wine or beer?
Wine.
Sunbathing or walking in the snow?
Walking in the snow.
Seaside or countryside?
Countryside.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Giving or receiving gifts?
Giving.
Red or blue?
Blue.
Savoury or sweet?
Savoury.
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Sunday lunch or Friday night takeaway?
Oh, Friday night takeaway.
Pepsi or Coca-Cola?
Coca-Cola.
That's the end of that round.
Who is the clue? Who is the clue?
It's time for Guess the Actor or Actress. So in this round, there are 3 actors or actresses to guess. And I'm going to give you 3 clues for each. You have to tell me who it is. So, the first one is, he appeared in the original cast recording of Les Miserables. He currently has his own radio show and has played Edna Turnblad in Hairspray.
Michael Ball.
Okay, well done. This person replaced Judi Dench in the original cast of Cats after Judy broke her leg in rehearsals. She went on to star in a whole host of shows including Jesus Christ Superstar, Anything Goes, Grease and Sunset Boulevard. She also released I Know Him So Well from Chess with her co-star Barbara Dixon.
Elaine Page.
Yep. Okay, and your final one. She sang the title song in Beauty and the Beast. She played the lead in a TV crime detective show and has performed in Gypsy, A Little Night Music, and has also had a cameo role in Mary Poppins Returns. I've got him. I've got him. I'll give you an extra clue. The crime detective show was called Murder, She Wrote.
Oh, yeah, it's, yeah. What do they call her? That American, yeah. Yeah, Murder, She Wrote woman. God, what's her name?
And
Well,
you've run out of time.
bed knobs and broomsticks and what's that flipping name?
You've run out of time. Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
You yourself when I tell you. Angela Lansbury.
Oh, blooming heck, of course it was. Ah!
Okay, Richard, I want to move on to talk about hands-on productions and promotions. Do you want to tell our listeners and watchers what hands-on productions and promotions is?
Yeah. Again, when we started doing pantomimes, we used other people's scripts, but we spent a lot of time adapting those scripts to how we wanted them. And it got to a point where we were putting that much time into adapting scripts to how we wanted them. We just thought, well, why not sort of write our own? So that's how it started. So we just had to go writing a script. We wrote a script that seemed to be quite successful, and then we wrote the next and the next and the next, and we're on about as 8 now or something like that. So that was the script element of it.
So when you're saying we, you're talking about yourself and Linda.
And Linda, yes, sorry, massively Linda. Linda, I sort of come up with the conceptual ideas of this, how the script's going to run, the scenes, how things are going to work within the show, any speciality, characters and all that sort of stuff. And then Linda goes off. She's brilliant at putting dialogue in and stuff like that. And then we read it together and we'll tweak it and just try and make it better and better and better. And we've learned over the years that, and it suits our format perfectly well. So that's how it started in terms of the script element of it. And then we do an equipment hire. We've got a lot of professional level lighting and sound equipment. And that came about by when I started directing, as I said to one of your early questions, I ain't got a clue. I've never even thought about DMX's lighting desks, sound desks. And I'm a bit of a beard like that. So I just bought a few bits of kit and taught myself how to do it. And it just went into where I just bought more and more and more. And then I started experimenting and bought a few more. And then bought some pyrotechnic equipment and bought some special effects equipment. Now I've got big snow equipment. So anybody of you out there wants big snow machines, lighting, sound, hands-on productions, you can find us on Facebook. Facebook, Hands-On Productions and Promotions. But you can also find us on the Tinterweb, which is www.hopap.co.uk.
All links will be posted on social media, so they'll be posted on Facebook and YouTube. So, Richard, moving on, so we've talked about your company. We're going to talk sort of advice. If there was one thing you could tell your younger self, looking back, what would it be and why?
Don't take yourself too seriously. Always follow your heart. But it's got to be mixed in with a bit of savvy, because you can soon lose your shirt in this game and lose your reputation if you pick the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
But just be bold and brave and learn more early. I wish I'd learned more, taught myself more when I was younger, and I was more receptive to it. So that's the advice I give, because it's a wealth. It's the theatrical world is just gagging for like new ideas and new concepts. Go find them.
Moving on from that, do you have any regrets?
Not really. Do I have any regrets? No. You know, if I'd have gone around the various societies, perhaps I could have got and done other things, but then I wouldn't have met the people that I've met. I wouldn't have done the things in Manor that I've done. I wouldn't have got to where I am. So no, I don't look back and think I've had a rubbish. I've done some brilliant things, and you know, I'm continuing to do so. I've got one of the best societies in Sheffield, you know, at my fingertips, and that just enables me to be creative with a group of fantastic people.
Brilliant. Okay, I want to sort of delve back onto your time as a performer, because we've not really touched on that at all. I want to ask you, have you ever had any embarrassing moments on stage?
No.
Has anything ever gone wrong?
Yeah, of course it has. Yeah, loads of things go wrong. I mean, you know, I've been left high and dry on stage when you sat there waiting, and somebody's supposed to make an entrance, and you know, you can hear them on a mic and they're still in dressing rooms talking about something else, and you just know they're not coming, and you've got 2,000 people sat waiting for you, and you've just got to
Work
take
it
yourself
out.
out of it. You see, at Manor, we've never had prompts. We've never had prompts. We've never had people to get you out of the do if you get in it.
Yeah.
So I suppose from an early age, I've sort of learned, you know, if you're in a hole, you got to get a shovel and you got to start, you know, trying to fill it in or trying to do something. So yeah, I mean, it happens all the time in theatre. That's the beauty of theatre. People are saying to you, "What's the beauty of theatre?" You know, even though casts, even in West End productions, learn musicals and they are sort of word perfect pretty much most nights, the productions are slightly different. The companies, the audience is slightly different. The show's slightly different. It's a unique experience just for that one time. That's what live theatre is. It's
Yeah.
unique to that one time.
Absolutely. So moving on from that question, another question: have you ever injured yourself on stage?
Oh God, yeah. I once in a sack being dragged, you know, being dragged on in a pantomime, and I went over this bump, and I just felt this thing going to my elbow, and it really, I mean, it really hurt, and sort of like they opened this sack and I was supposed to spring out, which I obviously duly did because you got thousands of people looking at you. And I'm like performing and doing my stuff as though nothing had happened. All the time, it feels like I've got a piece of wood stuck on my arm. I thought I'd got a bloody plank of wood stuck on my elbow. And I thought, I can't look down because I'm going to give the game away. So I just kept on going and blah, 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 blah. It was a right long scene as well. And anyway, when I got off, I like walks off like this, and to the stage manager at the time, Paul Minot, went, Paul, he went dark. I said, I think I've got something in my arm. Can you have a look? And he like got his torch and he looked at it, and he went, God, you've got bloody hell, you've got a piece of wood in your arm. I went, well, can you just pull it out? He went, mate, it's bloody massive. You can't just pull that out. Anyway, so I goes back to the dressing room, and I'm not kidding. It was like a cocktail stick length
Yeah.
and twice the thickness. I saved it for years, and it went right in my bloody arm. And honest to God, if I like walking around like that, but show must go on, you know.
Can you think of any other embarrassing moments or things that have gone wrong on stage?
Yeah, I mean, live theatre, that's the beauty of live theatre. Things go wrong. It is live. What you see is what you get. But, you know, I can think of one standout moment where we did a show called Little Abner, and we did it at the last Lyceum. So it was a big deal for Manor and for us as performers. And I was playing Little Abner, and a guy called Malcolm Disbrow was playing one of the lead parts, and he was fantastic, by the way. He fell asleep, and he didn't turn up for one at matinees, and he just didn't come. So like we're all sat in his dressing room waiting, and like Malcolm, we're in my dressing room, and I'm thinking, bloody hell, Malcolm's not here. So eventually we get a call like Malcolm's not coming. So I mean, Brian, who I can't praise enough and speak highly enough, he sat at the side of the stage with a script and a microphone that went to the dressing rooms, and he rewrote the script and wrote this one person out of the script as it was performing. So
Wow.
we had to do, I mean, I was the title role. Linda was playing Daisy May, that was my partner. So we had massive roles within the show. I mean, we pretty much didn't go back to the dressing room. Luckily, there weren't many costume changes out. And we literally had to come off stage. You went to his desk, and he'd rewritten next scene, and he'd say, right, instead of saying that, you say this, you do that, you do this, go on. So you then had to go on and deliver that, come off. And we had to, that's honest to God. And the audience never knew. I never knew. And whilst, you know, it was a great big feather for us, the accolade of, I've never seen anything like it. Brian was sublime. He was sublime in many ways, but I have never seen anybody do anything like that. I mean, it was rewriting a script, and it's a huge character, rewriting him out of that script as it's happening, and you going on performing. All we got to do is you just go on and say that. that's what we did.
I just want to talk about a similar experience that you've had as a director. So you didn't have to rewrite anything, but you had to restage Beauty and the Beast back in 2013. Do you want to just sort of explain what happened? And
Yeah, we got the part of Gaston was being played by a guy called Gary, and during the dress rehearsal, he gets pushed off the ramparts of the castle, and he fell, and we got a crash mat and everything ready for him, but he dislocated his shoulder blade, and he had to be rushed to hospital. And this is on dress rehearsal. So we're like thinking, flipping out. So we've got Howard, who's the treasurer, was taking him to the hospital. We're in the theatre. We were there till 4 o'clock.
yeah.
We'd got other members of cast in the pit. And Andy, our musical director, deciding how we were going to do it, because we didn't know whether they'd keep him in, just let him go, whether he'd be available to voice over it, whether he'd be able to do it. We had no idea. So we were looking at all sorts of ways that we could overcome this problem. And I went home, didn't sleep, we're waiting. I think it was about 4 or 5 o'clock when, got word of the fact that, he could, well, we didn't know what he could do, basically, and we were waiting till next morning. So I woke up, I rang my boss at work and I said, do you mind me having day off? Went down to the theatre. I was going to learn part. I got other people down there learning part. It was whoever could learn it best. Fortunately, the outcome was Gary could visit the theatre. He couldn't go on. So he sat in the pit and voice over the lines and the songs. And we had a guy called Josh. Thank you, Josh. We'll never forget you for that. Who Linda he was in the show anyway, but he was in the chorus. So he knew the comings and goings of the show. But obviously, he had to learn what to do. And Linda just went aside at stage and pushed him and pulled him. And again, a similar sort of scenario. We didn't have to rewrite it, but it was very challenging and not something I'd wish to repeat on a regular basis.
No, absolutely. I've never felt a rush of emotion after a show finishing than I did at the end of that.
Well, you were his counterpart as well, so you had a massive part to play in it. And
yeah,
and all we can do is sort of put a plan in place and hope that you execute it. You guys did. You did it perfectly, and he just was sublime.
Demonstration about how important and how hard working amateur theatre is, because in a professional production, you've got a stand-in who'll just come in and do it. It's no worries about it. Fair enough, they're off. But you don't always have that in amateur theatre, and I think it's testament to how we operate as a team, that we worked hard, and I'm saying we, yourselves, found a solution and got through it. As a performer, did you ever have a pre-show ritual?
Yeah. I'm pretty. What's the word? Superstitious. Yeah. And I like things to be laid out the same. I like to mark my script out the same. So it's more about the arrangement of where my costumes are and how my dressing room is set up. That's sort of my ritual. I don't sort of hop around dressing room or stand on my head or do yoga for 10 minutes. I don't like that. It's just how things are set out. It has to be laid out, as I am used to seeing it.
Yeah. So if I put you on the spot now, Richard, I want you to have a think and tell me one part you've played throughout your time as a performer. Can you tell me which is your favourite? Which one stands out as going, wow, yeah, I played that part?
Oh, I suppose Bill Snibson in Me and My Girl, I think. There's been lots of standout moments, and I've enjoyed them all for various reasons, but that was particularly enjoyable. It was something that Brian, the producer at that time, had wanted for a long time. We finally got it. I got the honour of playing the part. So yeah, that was a special moment, and it was well received as well. Oh, and I played Pippin, that was reviewed very well.
Yeah.
Which was,
Okay, and so flip the question. As a director, is there one production that you've directed and co-directed and produced that you would say is your standout show?
yeah, they're all memorable. Otherwise, you wouldn't do them. I mean, we just done Our House, which was absolutely wonderful. I have to say, I'm not trying to be big-headed or anything. I mean, we did it. We love it, and it was great. But I think a show that stands out for numerous levels, for numerous reasons, should I say, is Ghost. Because, as you know, Chris, I mean, I got the rights to do it, and I were having second thoughts because it's one of my favourite musicals ever,
Yeah.
and it's such a technically challenging musical, and you can do it. I suppose you could do it very simply, but we wanted to get it as near to the West End production as we possibly could to do it justice. And I have to say, we did it, and we worked all the way through the night, putting all screens up, which I designed. I just designed all the backing to go on it. I employed somebody to come and work all that for us, and they did a lot of the computer animated graphics. But yeah, it was pretty groundbreaking, was that? And anybody who saw it, I think, will think, yeah, that was a
Yeah, it was described as a production that raised the bar for amateur theatre. And I think,
yeah.
how does that feel hearing that when you know how many hours of, and well, days and weeks of sleepless nights and all that work in rehearsals, pushing your cast sort of out of their comfort zones, really? How does that feel when you hear feedback like that?
It's wonderful, but I mean, I've never been one for looking for feedback from people. If you get it, it's great. But I was so proud of the cast because it was so challenging, that musical. I mean, the technical rehearsals for it were just well, you were in it.
Yeah.
So challenging. The cues for lighting, sound, special effects, because of the ghost element of it, the walking through doors. I mean, we did it all. All the technical elements that were involved in that, where you couldn't get it wrong. So I was more proud of the company than, I suppose, myself or Linda. The company pulled off a wonderful production, and that's when you say we stand at the back crying. I mean, when you've been through all the flipping pulling air out moments, it's not that I've got a lot to pull out anymore, and it works. And you see the audience, and they're aghast, looking, thinking, "Wow, that was so cool. Where did that come from? How did that happen?" That for me is testament to the show and the production and the performance in itself, and nothing more has to be said for me.
It wasn't just electronic screens and stuff. There was sort of automated pieces of set. We had cabinets that were lifting actors up out the air. We had people going through doors and everything like that. So to do that without sort of being given any sort of prior knowledge as to how to go about doing that, you've got to have someone that's got a creative mind. And I think with yourself and Linda working together, I think it was only ever going to be a success because you're a dynamic duo together, because you want to push it further, you want to push it as far as it can go, and you're not people that say, well, that's difficult, we can't do that. You're people that go, well, we'll find a way to do that and we'll make it work for us. And I think if anybody watched that production, you would just say, wow, yeah. I'm saying that as somebody that performed in it, and I have very special memories of that show. But to pull it off in the manner that we did, but also it's not just Ghost. I think if we look at Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which we did in 2018, you were given very short notice about the production, and there wasn't a set in place. There wasn't a car that could fly, and to constantly live, sort of pushing the boundaries and have them sleepless nights. I think it takes a special kind of person, and I think yourself and Linda should take great pride in that for the amount of work that you do. And I think sometimes directors and producers aren't recognised enough, so I think you should take pride in that.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
All right. I think we've come to the end of our interview.
Hey!
So I just want to quickly say this was Richard Bradford. Richard is a performer, director, and producer who runs his own theatrical company. He's from Sheffield. He's 52, and he is also a TA by full-time job. Richard, have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's been a blast, mate. I've enjoyed it.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on and being my first guest. This has been It's Showtime, the brand new theatre podcast. We've come to the end of our show. Next week, we have a St. Ives-based performer who is a chairman of trustees for a youth theatre charity. His name is Mr. Phil Barnett, and he will be joining us next week. Once again, thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week for more It's Showtime.
Good luck with the rest of them, Chris.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.